As a pup growing up in this industry, boy, did drivers not like cameras getting rolled out to fleets. But over time, there was a story that would come out that would say, well, hold on, we use that camera to prevent you from wrongly being convicted of something you didn't do. Because that's what happens out there. It becomes he said, she said out on the streets. The police officer wasn't there. They take whatever side they want to take for the day. You're rolling the dice. I think drivers knew that, right? That pissed them off, as it should. Ticks you off as a safety director. We're settling cases not because we're wrong, but because it's easier than fighting and cheaper than fighting. And you have to hold your nose and do it. Nobody likes that. So cameras were thought of, well, maybe we could prevent that problem. In the early days, it was a little chip, and driver have to take it back to your office, put it in the computer, and you take a look and see where we had fault or not. But by then, the police report was created. A lot of the movement was happening. You could still have better than nothing, but it wasn't perfect. The camera companies allowed us to get that footage right away. But they were giving us every event, right? Every time we hit a rock. And so we'd have 300 things to review every morning. And well, that was 280 too many because it was a bunch of noise. So they created a service to review that for you. But no one's paying extra for a service. You just okay. And then when AI came out and really helped you prioritize who to look at and who to coach that day, now it became manageable. Right? That 300 was 20 that you actually need to look at. And it's not perfect, but 15 of 20 is better than 15 of 300. So now you've got a manageable way to coach your little fleet. And if we're talking today about rolling out cameras, frankly, if you're not using cameras, I am surprised. I mean, they're everywhere. It stuns me when we stumble upon someone not using cameras. And so if you're not, this is why you should. And if you are, here's a good change management process for whatever you're doing. The first is start with a pilot. You're going to do a little vendor evaluation, whittle it down to 2, and then get drivers that like being tested for you. They do. There are drivers in your fleet that want to help fellow drivers. Go find those people. It's not everyone. You know who they are. And when you're listening for their testimonials, and you will get a situation where that camera saved their bacon. Capture that story. You're going to capture that drivers, you're going to capture that footage, and you're going to capture that story. Because that is the with them for the rest of the fleet. With them is what is in it for me. When you capture that, now you're going to have ammunition to roll this out because you are marketing and sales convincing a bunch of drivers that this is a good thing. Also, arm your dispatchers with those stories. And let's start with the with them for dispatchers. Hey, dispatcher, do you like it when your driver is late due to an accident or their load's on the side of the road? You do not. We're going to help make that go down. So you have to have that conversation with your customers less. Now, the last piece I like to say is guidelines versus policies. We love a good policy in the safety department. I do not. Part 2 reasons. 1, on the deposition chair, that is how we are getting nailed to the cross as safety directors. You're writing down policies, not following them exactly in a situation that doesn't make sense because you have professional discretion, but you pinned yourself into a corner with your policy. I have a 2-year-old. If I wrote a policy for every rule that he broke, it would be 1,000 pages long and he's not even 3 yet. And then next year, we're going to add another 1,000 pages. We cannot possibly come up with a rule every time something bad happens. So I like guidelines following a Simon Sinek formula of why, how, what. The why is the with them. Why are we doing this? Is to help everyone list them out. We want to have less accidents. We're going to bring you home safely. We like you alive better than dead. And when an accident does happen, it's not our fault. Let's end it right now before it even becomes a fight. How are we going to do that? As a safety director, I'm going to review all the events every day. And what I'm going to do about it, I'm going to use my professional discretion for each situation. That could be coaching. It could be sending a video so you watch it, a little chat, maybe some remedial training, maybe a suspension, maybe termination. But as a professional, I'm going to use my discretion and sit on that. That's absolutely appropriate. I'll go back to being a parent. You cannot create a rule for every scenario that your kid is going to have. You and your significant other have principles that you follow, that you apply to each scenario. That's exactly what you can do with drivers. So before these camera rollouts, start with a pilot, capture and build your story for the with them, the what's in it for me, your marketing and sales, and create the guidelines following the why, how, what formula.